Welcome to the Science and Spirituality Podcast, where we dive deep into universal spiritual principles and ground them in modern science. My name is Chris Carden.
And my name is Kevin Carden. And we are committed to simplifying the spiritual side of success for you with easy to understand scientific research so you could walk away with practical tools to create radical transformations in your life. Let's get started. So recently we got a question on hearing more about an in-depth understanding of the power of letting go and letting go of things that no longer serve you and how to do that. So we want to record an episode on that. And just before we dive in, if you have any idea of a topic that you want us to cover, anything that you're struggling with, anything you want more information on, shoot us a message, shoot us a DM on Instagram or email us. We'd be happy to make an episode to go deeper into whatever you want to cover. So with that said, let's talk about this idea of letting go of things of the past, things that no longer serve you. And I want to begin this episode by bringing to our attention something that's called, it's a law of the universe called the law of sacrifice. This comes from a book called Working with the Law by Raymond Holliwell, which is an amazing book about the 11 universal laws. And one of them being the law of attraction, but one of them is also the law of sacrifice. Now, sacrifice, the word sacrifice, is often thought of as I'm losing something. It's like losing something that I actually wanted. But the true sacrifice in the law of sacrifice is letting go of something of a lower nature to actually bring in something of a higher nature, something that you actually wanted. It's letting go of maybe good things that are going good in your life for actually a greater result that you want. So that's ultimately what we're going to focus on here. At least on my end, my perspective, is how do we really focus on letting go of the past, is to really focus on rather not what we're letting go of and like what we're releasing, but more bringing in the focus, like what we're bringing in.
Yeah, and I think for the people listening, if they have like similar concerns about letting go of the past, I think it's important to understand our nervous system and how it works. Like, you as a human being are going to place more weight on your past failures than on your past successes, because your nervous system's job is to make sure that you don't repeat those past failures. Because if all of our ancestors repeated their past failures, they would have went by the bush where they got attacked by a lion and we wouldn't be here. So there's a hard wiring in your nature to place more weight on those past failures. But there's so many past successes that you can also draw on too. So like kind of understanding like how our nervous systems come into play here can kind of make you take a step back at least and be like, hey, like I'm actually not crazy for placing this much weight on my negative experiences, but as a rational thinking human being with this spiritual side of myself, I can transcend this and use the past to my advantage, because I can be like, hey, like what have I learned from that, instead of being so afraid that it's gonna happen again.
Yeah. And it's in the moment we have to notice this. Like you were sharing, is that like we tend to place more weight on the failures because we're hardwired to look for, what went wrong so that we don't repeat that. But in thinking of that in the moment, then we're just adding more energy to that experience. And so it's like we're repeating something. We're bringing that past experience into our present, and we're literally causing the same emotional response as if it's already happened, or as if it happened in the past. And that really just doesn't do us any good.
Well, then you're priming your body for it to actually happen again.
Exactly.
Your cells and your whole physiology is going to start responding as if it's going to happen again.
Exactly.
And you're going to get that rush of fear.
Yeah. And so part of it is being logical and understanding the truth of what's going on, is that it's your nervous system just acting up, trying to keep you safe. But you have to transcend that and realize that if you want to move forward and live a more positive life that's not weighted down by the past failures, by the past mistakes, by even betrayals from other people, just the heaviness of things that it didn't go the way that you wanted to in the past, we must realize the moment-to-moment basis of the choices we're making, of what we're placing our attention on. Because where we place our attention, then we're placing more of our energy. And then the universe, God, source, spirit, this infinite presence, reads our intention based on where we place our attention. And so we'll just repeat the same patterns, or we'll repeat the same experience. And so part of it's the logic, is understanding this and understanding everything we just said in the last 3 minutes, which I think honestly, like, was just a fire hose, like in listening to you. And even when I'm sharing, like in in the last couple of minutes, like there's a lot. So I encourage you to re-listen, just like literally just rewind this to the last 3 minutes, listen to that again, because it's not something that you just get once. You hear it once and you get it, and actually you're able to then translate that into your experience. You got to listen to it again and again and again, so that you really get that, so that when that comes up, when your mind wants to focus on the past failures, the heaviness and all those things, that you have then the awareness to notice, like, oh, this feeling of me wanting to go down that path and think those thoughts is actually just a pattern, and it's not going to serve me moving forward. So part of it is the logic, but then the other side of it is what I began with this episode with, is we have to, yes, let go of that past, but then in order, like, once we let go, if we don't bring in something new, then more of those thoughts that are down the negative track or about the past is going to still fill in. Because there's a principle in physics that says the universe abhors a vacuum. In other words, the energy doesn't like empty space, because it just fills it with more of that and more energy. And if you're not conscious of what you're bringing in, then the same pattern is going to repeat. So you have to bring in something new. And then what I mean by bringing in something new is bringing in a new image in mind of what you would love to experience. If you're letting go of something of the past, then what do you want to bring in? What's the new version of your life that you want to experience? And it may not be happening yet, and that's okay. It's not, you don't have to look for evidence in your life, but you have to at least design in your mind, what's the image of what the life I want to see in terms of this area of life. Let's say it's like a relationship, like you had, like a past hurt, like you had a breakup, right? And you're thinking about that. But if you keep thinking about that, then you're going to keep repeating the same experience of either, rejecting people in your life of that relationship that you want, or being scared of stepping into another relationship. So you have to let go of that. But then you have to bring in a new image of what would it be like when I'm in a relationship that I really feel expansive in, and that is supportive of me and is loving. You have to bring that in order to create that new experience.
Yeah. And I think it's also important to point out too, if it was a past hurt that involved someone else, is that you don't have to involve that person in you moving forward.
Yep.
Like you can make it okay inside your own mind.
Yep.
Like the other person doesn't have to be involved. And one thing that has helped me a lot in dealing with past failures and, just things that I had in my head that I couldn't move forward from, is writing. Because a lot of times when we have thoughts in our head and we don't put it down on paper to see what's coming out, we tend to be stuck in these loops of thinking. When you just, and you don't even, it doesn't have to be grammatically correct. The handwriting can be shitty, but just take some time, sit in a place, maybe light a candle, get into a solitary place and just start writing about the experience. And you might be surprised about what comes up and what new clarity that you can gain from it. Because sometimes when we feel like we can't move forward from the past, it's because maybe we haven't integrated enough into the person that we are today and how it's going to help us move forward in the future. Yeah. So maybe there's some work that still needs to be done there as well.
Yeah, and I would recommend taking a step further too. Like journaling definitely has helped me. And one thing that I've only done this once, and it was like a couple months ago, but it really helped me. At the end of a month, I think it was a full moon too. I wanted to make it a whole event, ceremony, that I wrote down all of the things that I felt like I was holding myself back in, just the habits, the patterns that I just no longer were serving me, and I wanted to let go. Some of it was just patterning from my past, years prior. And I wanted to let it go. So what I did is I wrote it down, but then I also burned the paper. So it's symbolic. It's nothing this is not magic or anything like that. It's just straight up just a symbolism of you letting it go, of literally it being burned out of existence on that piece of paper. So you can then resonate with that's being burned out of my experience within, so that I can transform it.
Yeah, no, that's a beautiful suggestion, because I think there's actually some science or some logic to that, because it's humans, we like to place meaning on things. So when you make it an event that I'm going to write down this past thing and then burn it, that might actually be the line in the sand that you can draw both energetically and then also physically, because you're seeing it, you're touching it, you're seeing it melt away. That might actually help you get over the edge and move forward from that thing that's been keeping you stuck for so long.
Exactly. And just a suggestion, I when I was doing that, I was like, wait, how am I going to burn this safely? I just took a mason jar, I crumpled up the paper and just burned it in there, and it took a couple minutes, but it worked. It was great. And it was contained safely.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't do it in the forest, or that Smokey the Bear will come and whip your ass or some shit.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because I totally forgot about that, and I might do that again soon.
You forgot about Smokey the Bear?
No, about burning the paper. Forgot I did that. How powerful it was.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's that symbolism. It's like your whole being recognize that, oh shit, this is something. This is an event.
Yep.
Not just in your head. It's like you wrote it down and now it's like a thing.
Yeah. So you're committing to it.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's time invested to actually do it. So those are my suggestions. I know we can go off on a lot of different tangents, but I think
let's keep it simple so that
so you can do it.
There's something practical that you can give it a shot and actually start implementing some of this stuff.
Exactly. So try it out, like at least writing it down. And if you feel guided to, then burning it as well. And I think just one other thing to like really ground the point of like bringing in the new is you could also journal that as well. That's also what I did. It's like I had one sheet of paper that was like what I was letting go of, and then one sheet of paper that I wrote down like what's the exact opposite. What do I want to bring in? What kind of qualities do I want to start to implement in my life and be? And so I wrote that down and I didn't burn that. I kept that with me and I read that for like every day for like a couple of days till like it really sunk in.
Nice.
Yeah. So go try that out. See how that works for you, and then let us know. Because we love to talk with y'all like that. Because for example, like this episode came from a question. If anything resonates with you, please let us know, and feel free to give us a review. I know we say that at the end of our episodes, like in the outro, but we really would love that. I know I'm just kind of going off. But I would love to hear your feedback and like what our episodes have done for you. Your experience, because that would really mean a lot to us, let alone other people, if they're looking to find a good podcast to learn from. So yeah, we appreciate you. And that's it for today. So thanks for tuning in, and we really hope you enjoyed listening to this episode as much as we enjoyed recording it. So any questions, any comments, just connect with us on Instagram. You could always DM us at Kevin Francis Carton
and at Chris J. Carton. And also, if you feel guided to, the one thing we do ask is for you to please rate the podcast and leave us a review. This way we can reach more people and impact more lives with this amazing information. With that, we'll see you on the next episode.